What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a video talking about how I think you and anyone that really plays the game can get CP or circuit points from every single regional you go to. Note that I said regional, not every event. It's almost impossible, I think, to get circuit points from every PC, from every mid-season, but every regional you choose to go to, you can most definitely get CP, and I'm going to show you guys how I do it. And the whole point of this video is I was looking back at my regional track record. Now, some of you guys know that I don't go to a ton of regionals. I don't even usually go to, like, nationals or anything like that. I usually go to maybe 3, maybe 4 regionals a season, and I was just looking back at, like, the 10 or so regionals I've been to, and I've gotten CP from 8 out of the last 10, and I'm going to say 8, it should technically be 9, and I'll explain that when it gets to it, but you can kind of think of it as a 9, and it's not like a hacks thing. It's not a hacks thing, it's a regional problem. Actually, I'll just tell that story right now. So, at Utah Regionals in 2015, I went there, and normally, you know how they'd have the regional on the main day, and the PC or the mid-season on the second day? Well, they had the PC or mid-season on the second day, and I only really brought one team, so I entered it, got put on stream a few times, top cut that tournament, got CP for getting top 4, and then in the second day, I was put on stream round 1, and then all my opponents were like, "Oh, I saw your team. You're the guy that's using Mega Sableye that I saw yesterday. Oh, I saw your game on stream today. I saw it yesterday." So, like, my first 4 or 5 opponents were all people that saw my games, and I barely bubbled out of CP for that one. So technically, you can kind of count it as a 9, because I still got, like, a lot of CP anyways. Like, I still got more CP top 4ing the mid-season than I would have for, like, you know, a top 32 at a regional. So think about it like this. If you guys want to really realistically think about it, I've gotten a lot of CP, not just a little bit of CP. Like the higher ends of CP out of 9 out of the last 10 regionals I've been to, and this is going all the way back to I think almost 2014. And it's not even about consistency. You guys watch my content, you guys know that I'm not a good player. A lot of my victories and things that I've accomplished in this game are actually all just from hard work, and I'm going to show you guys the type of steps that I take to achieve those results. So the first thing I think you want to do is you got to get a team, right? You got to get a team, and it's not just like a team that someone else gave you. I think you got to make a team that you really want to do well with, that is fun to play. You can copy, you know, Paul Chua's team, or you can copy Aaron Zhang's team, but you know, those teams, they're only going to take you so far. Those teams were made for a certain point at a certain meta game, and you know, like if you're copying Zhang's regionals team from 2 months ago, that was a format was 2 months ago. You got to make your own meta, and to do that, you got to make your team and just slowly adapt changes to it. So what we're gonna be doing here is I have a list of how I go about making teams and stuff like that. So the first thing I'm gonna do, this is gonna be some brief notes from my Portland Regionals team. I got 20th, but I was 5-0, and then I tilted. So like technically that should have been a top guy. I was 5-0 out of like an 8-round regional. I should have still half cut it. That's my bad. But anyways, so we got these notes right here. You guys can't really see them that well, but these are full notes, and it goes on for pages and pages and pages. And these aren't just notes about games. These aren't game notes. So what I like to do is once I get a team, right? I get a team, and I write down the tops. I write down all 6 Pokemon. So in this team, it's going to be Koko, Raichu, Lele, Pheromosa, Pelipper, and Golduck. I brought a rain team. And so the first thing I want to do is I write down the first 2 months in the team are Koko and Raichu. I want to write down why what their lead accomplishes. So for this one, it says Koko Raichu. It's a Surge Surfer. It also has like fake out pressure. That's the whole point of the lead. It says it's strong and fast. This is a standard lead I'm very confident with. When in doubt, Raichu out. That means like you just always bring that Raichu when you don't really know what they're going to do, because you have fake out and fling on this Raichu. Very simple. It's not that hard. It's very standard lead. The next thing you want to do, this is what makes my notes a little bit different, is so I went Koko Raichu. The next one on the list is Koko and Lele. I want to write down what's the strengths of the Koko Lele lead. There's a strength to be led in every single possible lead you can do, and there's pages of different lead options you can do and things you can set up. So with Koko Lele, it's somewhat of a double Koko lead. This is a very unique Lele spread I ran here. It was a Choice Scarf Lele with just enough speed to be faster than everything else, but slower than Koko. So it outsped like Kartanas and all those other things that would normally pick up a KO on Lele, because it was still technically a Scarf Lele. So the main point of the team is it hits hard and fast while hiding its true speed tiering behind the timing of the abilities. Because remember, when you send out your Pokemon, when you send out Koko and Lele, obviously it's going to be Psychic terrain, because Lele is slower. But if you're using a Scarf Lele and it would normally be faster than the Koko. So since it still shows Psychic Terrain, your opponent is lulled into a false sense of security that they're faster than you with their Kartanas, with their Nihilagos, with their Jolly Arcanines, and Mimikyus, which were very popular back in 2017. So this was a complete play on your opponent, and it totally tricked them, and it won me so many games. And you go continue right down the list. The next mon on the list is you see what are the advantages and disadvantages going Koko Pheromosa? What are the advantages going Koko Pelipper? What are the advantages going Koko Golduck? And you can say, obviously, Koko goes with all those Pokemon. It's a rain team. But when you start getting down into the list, what are the advantages going Raichu Lele? What are the advantages going Raichu Pelipper? Raichu Golduck? What are the advantages going Raichu Golduck? Let's see what I wrote down. What are the advantages going Raichu and Golduck? It's a relatively safe Z move. You always got to find the positives and things you could set up. It says save C move, potential for double encore. That's not even something you thought of unless you write it down. Double encore, great against setup users like Belly Drum Lax and all those things. It might stop gimmicks. It's always something to know. You got to know all of your options when going to a regional. You have to know every single one. Like, seriously, you may think, yeah, my team has like 3 or 4 weeds it can do. Nah, bro, your team has like 30. Your team has like 30 weeds. You got to be able to weed with everything. There's advantages going Lele Golduck. There's advantages going Lele Pelipper. There's a bunch of advantages for going Lele Pelipper. Actually, I wrote a big fat thing right there. That's a huge paragraph. But like I'm saying, you got to be able to know every single possible weed, and you got to force yourself to find advantages and reasons to use those leads. Like, you got to find, like, this team. Look at this game that's being showcased right here, just because I have nothing else to do. I have like Zard Gothitelle. But like, you gotta find advantages to go Zard with all of these mons. You gotta find advantages to go Ferrothorn with all of these mons for any reason. Like, let's say I want to use Swoobat and Ferrothorn. That's terrible lead. It can't activate my Misty Seeds. My Pokemon are relatively unprotected. I don't have good speed tiering. But maybe that lead is a really good bait into switch in for something else. Like, let's say that's look at it. It is a good lead. Like, let's just talk about it. So Ferrothorn and Swoobat, well, they're probably going to use their fire attacks and fighting attacks on my Ferrothorn slot. That's a perfect opportunity to hard switch in Tapu Fini, which resists both of those types, activates my Misty Siege, and then resets terrain and gains field presence. So just thinking about it, you got to think about every single possible lead and be able to actively play them. That's the next thing. The next thing you go into is you go into the games. You play a ton of games and you force yourself to do every single possible lead you can do to be as comfortable with it as possible. Pokemon isn't a game that you just play it. That's not the type of game. You have to be 100% like rehearsed in the type of things that you're going to do. You have to be ready, confident, and willing to bust out any sort of thing at all times to take your opponent off of their game. Because sure, you can play standard, you can play, a cookie cutter copy paste team, but when you really get comfortable with the team, you have to be able to execute it to its fullest ability. There's always a way to win almost any game if you're comfortable and you prepare. Like, I'm serious. There's always a way to win. There's always a way to win as long as you know what you're looking for. Like with this team, for example, like this team looks like Koko Lele, or well, you're not looking at the game, but like the game in general, the team I'm kind of talking about here, it's Koko, what is it? Koko, Raichu, Lele, Pheromosa, Pelipper, Golduck. You should be able to just tell all those items straight away. It's like, oh yeah, it's probably like Z-Move Pelipper, Sash Golduck, Life Orb or Sash on Mosa, maybe Scarf Lele, because that was relatively good back then, but it could also have been Life Orb there as well. Raichu was somewhat of a Z-Move user. It had already dwindled in usage, and Koko could have had a variety of different items or whatever, but I completely mixed everything up. I was using like Rain Dance Golduck. It's the little tweaks to your team that once you get your team, once you're comfortable with it, it's the tweaks you apply. Like, I was running, at some point, like, this team evolved into running, like, Z-Move Pelipper. Actually, no, wait, at this tournament, I wasn't even running Sash on anything. I was running, not King's Rock, I was running King's Rock on Raichu, but I was also running in, what's the other one that flinches? Razor Claw? I was running a Razor Claw Pelipper, and, like, that's totally in my notes, and it's just because Sash Pelipper was so common, people wouldn't ever target the Pelipper unless they were going to two-shot it, so I was like, well, I'd rather just make my Pelipper have a, ability to use Fling and just fling at things. Like, I cut Hurricane for Fling because I knew that would punish Porygon 2s, I knew that would punish Mimikyus and anything. Like, Muck was really big back then, and that was such a punish. And it's the little tweaks like that, like running Rain Dance on your Golduck, running Fling Pelipper, running, Fling on your Raichu as well. Even though that's completely standard by now, I'm one of the people that kind of pioneered that on Raichu in the 2017 season. It's the slight changes you make to something that looks standard that puts you ahead. And that's going to transition kind of into the next thing I think you guys need to be doing to Top Cut Regionals. Now, a lot of people say, like, I'm going to make a team, it's going to be really good, I want to win the event, or I want to do well. What you shouldn't be doing is making a team you think can do well or anything like that. In my opinion, like, you can look at every single regional team, you can look at the players that have a ton of consistency, like Wolf, Ray Rizzo, Zhang. There's a ton of players that have like a ton of consistency, and you can try and be like that, but I want you to strive for a different type of consistency. I want you to try to strive to win the first 4 rounds of the tournament, or be undefeated, or at least 3-1 before the lunch break. And you may not think that that's that big of an accomplishment. I'm just gonna fast forward this because we gotta watch games. There we go. Let's watch some games. Anyways, you might not think that that's that much of an, or you may think that that's too hard, or you may think that, like, how are you gonna, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. It's all about making a team that's supposed to be 4-0. This rain team, for example, is a team that's totally supposed to be 4-0, and I went 5-0 with it. Let's just take a quick review of my tournaments. All right, so I'm gonna look at this. So 2017 Portland, right? I was 5-0. San Jose, I was 4-0. Lost 1 to Zhang. I still made top cut. Arizona, I was 4-0. My first loss was to T-Man at Arizona in 2016, which still counted for the 2017 season, but I was 4-0. And then before that, it was San Jose, NorCal. I was 3-0 at the lunch break, and then at lunch break I kind of tend to throw it, but I was 3-0 there. And then Anaheim Regionals, I was 4-0. My first loss was to what is that guy's name? I don't remember his name. My first loss, I was 4-0 though. I was 4-0. And then after that, it was NorCal Regionals in the 2014 or 2015 season. I was 4-0 in that one. Long Beach, I went undefeated. I went undefeated in Swiss. I'm just running down like my regionals list, and then the last one was NorCal in 2013. And these are just ones. These are from like the ones that I'm saying I did well at. Obviously, there's Utah where I scrubbed out at, and Anaheim one time where I scrubbed out at. But those are the 2 outliers in like my top 10. These are the last 10 that I went to, but the 2013 one I was 4-0, and I lost to Rajan, who I think won that tournament. But I'm saying you want to strive to go 3-0, 3-1, 4-0, and if you do that, what it will give you, it'll give you a tiebreaker that will carry you. So let's say you're at the end of the tournament. This is total common sense for regional talk. You're at the end of the tournament and you're 6-2, but you lost your first 2 rounds. Your 6-2 ain't gonna count for squat because you're fighting people that also lost the first 2 rounds. The strength of your opponent's points in the computer is not gonna be, it's not gonna hold up. Like your 6-2 will not be as strong as someone who won the first 6 rounds and lost 2, because they fought harder opponents who were winning the whole tournament the whole time. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, barring some exceptions, let's say your first 2 rounds was to the only 2 people, like one guy that didn't lose and one guy who lost in the last round. You might be able to squeak it in if you had good tiebreakers for the rest of the tournament, but more often than not, you want to win early and lose late, because losing late makes you lose to people who are also really good. And if you lose to people who are really good, you're rewarded in the system. If you're the type of person who makes teams to win the first 3 or 4 rounds, and let's say you lose like the second round. Well, if you lose the second round, you're probably actually losing to someone who's made a team to win the tournament, and if they're good enough to beat you when you're just trying to like trick them and steal games, and you know, it sounds underhanded, but it's their fault for not preparing. You can't be blamed for your opponents not knowing that a Pokemon gets a certain move, or you can't be blamed for your opponent not actually looking at the board and analyzing it correctly. They should be able to analyze your items, and if they can't, that's on them. But if someone's good enough to beat you when you're like this prepared, and I'm going to talk into preparation after, when you're as prepared as I want you guys to be for regionals, if someone's good enough to beat you in the first couple rounds, they're probably just going to top cut anyways. Like, I'm completely serious. Like, every single time, like I said, all these tournaments, I was like, you know, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. Like, my plan is to beat everyone else and lose like maybe once or twice, if you have to the really, really, really good people. And it's not even about skill, it's just that those people are on, like, they're the type of people that make teams to win the tournament. You're just trying to make a team to beat everyone else in the first 4 rounds. And the reason why I talk about, like, it's so important to win the first 4 rounds is you can fight anyone. Your first round's probably going to be against some random person. Your second round's going to be either against some random person that won a round, or a really good player, which, like I said, it's okay to drop that game. It's not the end of the world. Like, I really do not recommend dropping games, and I'm not used to dropping games. I don't think I've ever, once in the history of my regional career, lost a round 2. But, like, it'd be okay. You know, like, I've done it in PCs, and you're still fine. But what you want to do is beat people until you know that you're fighting good players, because that's another really good thing. Once you know and can confirm 100% without a doubt that your opponent is as good of you or better, like once you can confirm that you're fighting the upper echelons of players, it's going to make playing the game easier. Like everyone, whenever you go into a regional and your opponent has that like random ass team and it's round 1 and you have no clue what they're going to do, like no one wants that. No one wants that. You want to know that your opponent is like, alright, I'm fighting against T-Man. He's made worlds so many times. He has all these different types of playstyles, but at the core, he knows what he's doing. So those type of players are conditionable. You can influence the game and you know what they're going to do for the most part. You can respect them enough to know that they're going to make the correct play and know how to close out games, and you can use that to your advantage. So you want to be able to play those good players. You want to make teams that can get you up there. I know I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this, but, you know, it's really important to win your first 4 rounds. And, like, I'm going to use an example. I'm going to use a player, for example, like Pedons, right? Really solid player. I think he just got his Worlds invite, so, like, good on him. He's been to Worlds before. Super solid. But the one thing about him is, only ever times that I've ever played him, is he's the type of player that I want to fight in the first few rounds of the tournament. Not because he's not strong. It's that my teams are made to beat people like him. People that want to play standard. People that want to play safe. People that don't want to lose. That's the thing, like, my teams are made to beat those people. In the first few rounds, before you have, like, your footing and stuff like that, like, I just think, like, let's think of my other teams. Look at the other teams. That was my Part 1 team. San Jose team was another Coco Raichu team. I used 3 Z moves in that team. You guys can see I'm the only person on, like, a regional stream to ever use 3 Z moves in a stream, like, Top Cut tournament match, or even in a tournament in general. I used 3 different Z moves in that tournament. My Raichu had a Z move, my Raichu, my Coco, and my Garchomp. I used all 3 within the 3 games that I played against Enosh in top 16. Like, that's the type of thing, like, people say, like, oh, that team's so best of 1. It's like, well, then make a best of 1 that can play a best of 5. Bring so many gimmicks and so many little tweaks to standard playstyles that you can gimmick out anybody. That's, like, just the best way of putting it. Let's go back down to, let's just go down the list. Go down to AZ. I ran Xerneas. I ran Groudon Xerneas, right? But it wasn't like chalk. I ran Groudon Xerneas with like Fling Weavile. So similar to Raichu, like you can see I really like that tech. It's something that definitely suits my playstyle. And then I ran like Aegislash and I think I ran Salamence and Gengar as my last 2. Somewhat standard, but I was running like Destiny Bond Gengar. I was running a really unique Aegislash set. I was running a Weavile. My Xerneas example was full HP defense, and people were like, no one ever started doing that. I don't know why. I thought it was so good because people were EV trained to be able to KO those sweeper Xerneases, and I had so many people just run for me once I got like in a really dominant position because they assumed my Xerneas could one-shot them when in reality I was more bulky. I was running like Psych Up Cresselia too. My team was so random. But it's like little things like that that can just take games from people that aren't ready and aren't like fully prepared yet. After that, it was San Jose. That was still another 2016. I want to talk about 2016. 2016 sucked. I ran Jump Puff at that tournament, by the way. Jump Puff's awesome. And then go down to SoCal, where I top cut with Sceptile. Like, bruh, I went undefeated day 1 with Mega Sceptile. Like, how ridiculous is that? Like, Mega Sceptile Rotom just bodied everyone, because everyone at that point was using Salamence. Salamence was the new Mega, and remember, 2014, King was super big. It was now 2015, first 2015 regional, everyone was running Salamence, because, like, Salamence intimidates, checks that King, then you Mega Evolve and just can wreck it. So, like, everyone was running Salamence to check King. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna run Sceptile to check the Salamence. Sounds like a win-win to me, and it was a win-win. It was totally a good call. So, you gotta make teams to win, you know, the first 4 rounds and take games. I know I talked way too long about this, but I think it's like a really important fact. And again, I can make like a whole nother video talking about how to make teams to do that. You want to make teams that look standard, but then completely do something totally different right when it comes time to win the game. Alright. So the last thing I want to talk about is the amount of time that it takes to set all this up. You know, like I said, I don't really go to that many regionals. I only go to like 3, maybe 4 a season. And I remember the title of this video is how to get CP from every regional. It's not every PC, it's not every mid-season, it's every regional. So I usually like to take maybe a little bit more than 2 months to make a team, like from scratch. And remember guys, I get all my stuff like legit. Like it takes me a while to make the mons, but that's not really the problem. It's the idea you want to build. So let's look at the team that's on the stream right now. We see the Zard Swoobat. It's a team I used in the IC, kind of. It's the starting phases of the team I used in the IC. Let's just use this as an example, even though I don't think I'd take this to a regional. It's just what's available for you guys to look at. So with a team like this, what you want to do is you want to get a team. And a lot of people always ask me, like, how do you build teams? How do you know what you want to use? Well, all it takes is just picking one mon and then building around it, building that mon's strengths and weaknesses. So the mon that I chose to build around was Charizard X. At the time, like 2 weeks ago when I made this team, I was like, Charizard X is pretty good, especially because people like to check it with things that check Charizard Y, and most of the things that check Charizard Y just get bodied by Charizard X. So I wanted to run a really bulky Charizard X. I wanted to run a Trick Room team with like a Brave, Zero IV, no speed Charizard X, and just steamroll anyone that was trying to set up Tailwinds or what have you. So we got Charizard X. The next mon I wanted to surround it with was a Gothitelle or a Trick Room user, so I put Gothitelle on the team. So I got Charizard, Gothitelle. From there, I wanted a Pokemon to check Gastrodons, because Gastrodon was giving me so many problems when this team was completely different. It was Charizard, Cresselia, and like 4 other mons, and I was like, man, I'm having problems with Gastrodon, so I put a Ferrothorn in there. Ferrothorn's so good right now, and you know, Gothitelle, Ferrothorn go very well together. It pushes a little bit of the Trick Room vibe a little bit too much, but you know, Charizard, Gothitelle, Ferrothorn, good core. After that, I was like, well, I should probably get something for Tapu Control. Incineroar is starting to punish me a little bit too much. Incineroar's really good against the Gothitelle. Incineroar's really good against the Ferrothorn. We're going to put Tapu Fini in here. Tapu Fini is a pretty good check against Incineroar, and a lot of things that hit the Fini get resisted by the Charizard X or the Ferrothorn. So again, very solid stuff. It's just simple team building. After that, I wanted a cool mon to help me set up my Trick Room. And so this Gengar, you can see in the team preview, it's not Mega Gengar. Regular Gengar, and you could say, well, it's probably sashed. Well, I actually don't have a Z move yet, so I actually put the Ghostium Z on this Gengar, actually. Let's fast forward this game. Fast forward it. Alright, so we're going to see the Blaziken. He went for a Rock Slide. Bisharp goes for a knockoff, but it's going... Alright, hold on, let's start the game off correctly. Start the game off. So, like, yeah, we're in the game, right? We're in the game, playing the game, watching the game. I'm picking my moves. I'm talking about how bad I'm going to style on this person, because right now it looks like I really want to set up this Trick Room, and he really has the correct amount of stuff to stop it. But you can see what my Gengar is going for. It's going to be going for that Ghostium Z Destiny Bond. Like, it's good against Incineroars. It's really good against Dash Bisharps as well. We're waiting for our opponent to lock in moves, but he's going to go Mega Blaziken. And you can already see that it's this, like, little gimmick. It's the slight changes. Because at the team preview, you would assume that it's Mega Gengar and that I probably didn't bring my Zard. And you feel so safe in knowing that there's no Zard coming your way. But the Zard's still coming, and you lost your Bisharp, and I got my Trick Room up. Like... it's little changes like that that is the type of stuff that wins you those first 4 rounds, and that's so important. So yeah, Z Destiny Mark, for those who know what it does, it redirects everything into the Gengar. And so he goes for a Rock Slide, not really a big deal. But let's say he went for the Rock Slide, or let's say he went for a Flare Blitz and KO'd me. I would have got a free KO on Blaziken. He wouldn't have been able to KO my Gothitelle with the Bisharp, even though it's stab knockoff. But yeah, knockoff's going to get redirected into Gengar. And let's just say for a sec, he protected with Blaziken for some weird reason, or didn't attack or Swords Danced, and didn't attack me. Let's say he just double Swords Danced, bam, and I got my Trick Room up. Well, I could have went with like an Ally Switch Guard, and I would have Ally Switched my Gengar to the other side, and Trick Room would have still been in effect, and like it would have elongated the effectiveness of my Destiny Bond until Gengar acted again. So it's cool things like that, and little tweak that set up how to win games. Like this game, like bro, that was pretty sick, right? I got my Trick Room up, I got a KO, and I didn't even use any real moves. So, you know, the next mon on the team, I have one more slot, right? I have one more slot, and I want to pick a mon that completely changes my team preview. I want to put a mon in there that my opponent says, I don't know what that does. I want them to tunnel on this mon. I want them to bring things to have to deal with it. And even if they do bring the right things, they're just going to fail because they don't know what it does. That's usually how I build it. I usually like to build like a core of like 4 or 5, and then bring one mon that just completely changes the game. Bring a Shedinja, bring a Zoroark, bring something that takes them out of their comfort zone. And I just wanted to go with a Swoobat. Misty Seeds, simple Swoobat with like double team, Calm Mind, all that good stuff. It's a really, really cool mon. And yeah, that's just this team in general. Like, am I taking this to a regional? No, but did I go through a lot of the same like building process to do this. Like I played, you know, I played quite a few games, and like it takes, the way I see it, it takes about 2 weeks, maybe more, to get a regional team. And what you want to do is you want to take those 2 weeks, maybe 3, maybe a month to get your team. And you want to do your best to disguise it. You want to play on your alts. You want to, you know, watch games and try and theory craft, build yourself. You want to play as many games as you need to, but not too many to where people catch on to the gimmicks you're trying to do. Do I want this team to be incredibly popular, and then when I go to the regional, everyone knows what it does? No, I want to be able to hide my information as much as possible. So get your team, and then the second month, because usually I only go to a few regionals, I go to one every like 3 or 4 months. I take the next month or so, I play different teams, I keep myself completely caught up with the meta, but the whole time I'm saving my replays, I'm analyzing, I'm going back and looking at every single game, thinking there is things I could do differently, and thinking how my main team can deal with this or be adapted to deal with this to be completely caught up with the current meta, because again, I don't want to show what I'm really using when I'm going to events. So it's little things like that. You guys can probably say that that's all common sense, but you know, like I said, some people like give team, and then they use like a team they got like a week before that is pretty standard and is pretty fun, but I really like to take like almost a month to get a team ready for regionals. And then it's also, you know, you got to write down these notes. You got to write down these notes about like how long and every single type of lead and stuff you do. Like I got notebooks on notebooks on notebooks, not just of games replays. Like I can also I can bust out replays from like, or notes from like 2012 fight against like, you know, Gengar Boy and stuff like that at regionals, and those are all fun. Those are all good to have, because remember, if you take correct notes during your games, also taking correct notes during games is super important. You need to be able to reflect on these in years like gone by, and you know, you need to be able to use this stuff for future on reference in the tournaments. Like if you take good notes against someone you played in round 1 and round 2, and you have to fight them in top 8, well, if you took really good notes, well, then you have like a flow chart on how to beat them. Like you got the cheat sheet right there. All you gotta do is put it to action and theory craft some strategies on how to pincer them and, you know, wrap them around their finger and condition them to win the game. So taking correct notes is good. I know I take notes completely differently than most people, but I fill up about a page and a half on every single game. And that's like while I'm playing the game. Like taking notes completely changes Pokemon. It's so important. And you can take a majority of your notes during your opponent's turn. That's what I think. Like I take 90% of my notes during my opponent's turn, or not during the opponent's turn. Sorry, not during the opponent's turn. You take your turns at the same time. I take 90% of my notes while the game's going on. You got to be able to like micromanage, look at both, make sure that you're not missing intimidates, speed tierings, abilities and stuff like that. But you know, you got to write down a bunch of stuff. And like I said, if looking back, like, you know, like I played like Gavin Michaels in like 2013. Well, the next time I played Gavin Michaels, you know, the first thing I did was like I saw that I was playing him. I'm like, I'm going to sit down and I went to my notebook, because I usually bring a couple notebooks to each region. I'm like, what was the last team I fought him with? Was he was using like Heatran in the last team. What was the item on that Heatran? Because players use what they're comfortable in using. Like I'm no exception. Like you guys just saw, I have a really big preference to use like Fling Mons on Mons that also get Fake Out or Encore. I have a really big preference to use like, you know, that weird Gengar set. Like I've used Destiny Bond Gengar at like 3 regionals. It's really good. So if people took correct notes on me, if people knew who they were playing against and took correct notes, they'd know that stuff going into the team preview. And I don't think that's cheating, because you're not using your notes during the game. That's just like, oh, I'm playing against Aaron Zhang. Well, I know the last like 4 teams he used against me, they're in my notes. Let me just make sure that he was using this EV spread on the Kartana that I confirmed. Let's just make sure that he was using Choice Band Metagross. I want to know that he really, I do know that he really likes using Choice Band Metagross. It's definitely one of his favorites. You know, just slight like move sets, you know, like let's say, let's just think of a player who's known for using certain, like VGC, like using Braviary. But if you can pinpoint the thing that, like, you pinpoint he wants to use Z-move Braviary, you can pinpoint that he wants to use like Tailwind, or like what move does he cut to make his set unique in a certain way, stuff like that. That knowledge is like really important on knowing, and that just takes time. You got to play the best, and you got to take correct notes. So guys, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. This video was not as scripted as it was supposed to be, but it's something I think had to get done. And again, you guys can ask me a million questions. I'll answer all of them in the chat to the best of my abilities. I might even make another video going even more in depth about this, but let's just run it down. You got to win your first 4 rounds. You got to put the time in to win these, to like practice for these. You got to make a team you want to play, and you got to take correct notes. And if you do that, anyone can get CP from a tournament. Like I said, like 8 or 9 out of my last 10, gotten CP from. And I just made this because I felt so many people were like, ugh, like, I can't believe I didn't get CP from this one tournament. Don't put all your CP hopes in one tournament. Well, I mean, you can. You just gotta, like, do the right amount of work to get it. So hopefully this helps someone. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.